Before we begin, this is for every on-screen Doctor with a clear placement in the timeline. So incarnations like the Valeyard and the Fugitive Doctor won't be included, but with her Big Finish releasing later this year, I'll no doubt make changes to this list to then account for her. In my last place, and please don't kill me here, is the First Doctor, played by both William Hartnell and David Bradley. For me, this Doctor feels the most bland. He feels like the factory ward beginner stuck at default settings. Whereas other Doctor placed up higher on this list have key and outstanding traits like loony crazy, emotional human, joyful and bubbly, the First Doctor doesn't, and that's fine. Makes sense after all. I mean, he is the First Doctor and will always then be the most basic, but because of that, it places him at the bottom of my list. In 13th place, and strangely next in line, is the Second Doctor. I enjoy his more alien energy, his excitement and craziness, and it works as a really nice opposition to the more bland and serious First Doctor. The only downside for me and why the Second Doctor isn't higher up on this list is really only because of two faults, one of my own. That one is that I haven't watched many Second Doctor stories, and the other is that I just prefer the other Doctors on the list, and well, he had to go somewhere and it just wasn't bottom. In 12th place is the Fifth Doctor. Again, I love all the Doctors in their own way, but this has to be filled, and for me 5 is 12, and yeah, that sounds strange, it looks weird on the transcript too. The Fifth Doctor brings a new, more youthful approach to the Time Lord, but at times he feels just sort of vanilla, a little bit plain. Now this may be due to his unlucky positioning, coming after the tenant of his time, Tom Baker, who was a very, very high energy Doctor, and of course coming just before the very bright and colourful Sixth Doctor. In 11th place, we then have the War Doctor. He is an interesting twist on a lifelong character. His entire character poses something new and interesting. A bridge Doctor between eras with bridging TARDISes, interior and exterior, bridging Screwdriver and even a mixed themed outfit. This Doctor feels both classic era and new. He works fabulously as a special incarnation, and I think he was threaded really well into the overall lore of the show. Now, I've listened to a few Big Finish of this Doctor and seen a fan figure adventures, and he always manages to capture my attention with his contrasting demeanour and self-generated atmosphere. If I could change one thing about this Doctor, I would have to be that they would have done more of him in the 50th anniversary. But even if John Hurt was still with us or not, I think he works best though just in the 50th anniversary story, when talking about the main show on TV, that is. For the 10th spot, we have the Third Doctor. The First Doctor in colour. And then the First Doctor who starts to really take the show, I think, to where it is today. I dislike to separate classic from New Who too much, but in my opinion, the Third Doctor really does feel like the first modern style of Doctor. His newfound energy and humanity about him really works to create a character that the audience can connect with and still enjoy seeing on screen. Rather than committing totally to the human emotional aspect like the 10th Doctor, he still has several very alien aspects about him. From his vast but visually stunning change in outfit to his screwdriver and refreshing persona. The Third Doctor is the first in our top 10 slots of Doctors. In 9th place, we have the Sixth Doctor. Now, some of you may have placed him at the bottom of your list, but for me, the Sixth Doctor brings something new to the role, which other Doctors have not. He has a sense of craziness about him, something slightly unhinged. This is definitely reflective of his outfit, but I also like the contrast of his clothes. You may look at the colourful mess and think bright and bubbly like 13, which he is and sure can be, but the Sixth Doctor has a frequent showing darker edge to him, and I really enjoy this. For me, the Sixth Doctor only gets better when listening to his Big Finish, and I really believe that without the Sixth Doctor, the show wouldn't be where it is today. Next up for number 8, we have the Fourth Doctor. Now, I love the Fourth Doctor. In his first story, he is absolutely crazy and it is brilliant. He really feels like a new regeneration. 3, 4 and 5 really feel like the classic version of 9, 10 and 11. 3 fantastic Doctors, all equally different, yet so similar at the same time. Tom Baker's portrayal as a Time Lord is obviously on par with David Tennant's now several variations. The Fourth Doctor is undoubtedly the Doctor in every way, from his style to his wit and childish charm to the underlying anger. The way he fights his monsters and the way he combats his own friends with their varying opinions. He brings out the best in everyone, and that includes himself. When I think of modern Doctor Who, I think of David Tennant. And when I think of the classics, I think of Tom Baker. That is why he is number 8 on the list. He's the perfect Doctor. The only reason he isn't higher on the list and closer to that number 1 spot is because I just prefer some of the other Doctor's qualities and their overall performance and character development. So talking of higher up on the list, that brings us nicely forward to number 7, which goes to the 11th Doctor. So we have finally got our first new Who Doctor on the list. And yes, I know you could argue that Hurt's incarnation is modern Who, but number-wise, he is before 9, so I'm not going to allow that. Now, I'm imagining right now that very many of you are confused and quite possibly angry that the 11th Doctor is where he is on the list. And for me, I think that's because I find him very messy and frankly confusing at times. He feels like a different incarnation in Series 5, 6 and 7, and then again different in Series 7B. Yes, it keeps things refreshing, but when I'm looking to choose my favourites and iron out their key qualities, 11 is just all over the place. Now, I love his childish charm and his alien opposition to his previous incarnation, and his outfit and performance are great, especially when he has to act scenes of anger and sadness, as seen in The Beast Below and The Name of the Doctor. This again adds a sense of unhinged danger to the Doctor, which I'd love to see for future performances. I haven't rewatched his era in a while, whereas other Doctors I have, but I am now beginning my 11th Doctor adventure again for the first time in years. So when I come to do this list again, once we have Fugitive and maybe even 14 and 15, 11 may be higher up on the list. Following Matt Smith's alien antics, in 6th spot is the 13th Doctor. I enjoy her incarnation and her portrayal as the Doctor. While her era had its ups and downs and her bumps, her Doctor is a fantastic character. The socially awkwardness is a nice touch and helps take the script in new directions. Doesn't always work, but it does make for some nice moments. 13's sadness and immaturity also brings a nice switch up to the previous very serious Doctor. And when I say immaturity, I don't just mean all the silliness and bouncing around, but I mean the lack of understanding for the people around her. Like when it was Graham and Ryan's choice to leave, she was willing to manipulate time to manipulate their choices. She is genuinely a really diverse and deep version of the Doctor, with so many different layers to her, and I have a gut feeling that when Big Finish get their hands on her incarnation, they will make her even better as with the 6th Doctor, and she could climb the list even higher. Now for the top 5, and in 5th place is the 7th Doctor. Now this even surprised me when I came down to make this ranking, and if I'm counting the TV show alone, then the 7th Doctor will be lower down on the list. But when this list includes Big Finish, he climbs easily to the top 5 spots, especially when he is paired with Mel. Some of his stories in Big Finish are my favourite from all of Doctor Who, and a lot of that is down to his portrayal of the Doctor. He is very human yet alien and good yet evil. In many ways he is an anti-hero more than some of the other Doctors, and definitely feels the most modern in comparison to his classic counterparts. In 4th place we have the 8th Doctor. Again, this is entirely down to Big Finish. If it was down to the TV movie and the 50th minisode alone, then he would be more towards the very bottom of my rankings. But he is an amazing Doctor in Big Finish. He is careful and clever, and something which I enjoy is his actual calmfulness. Even in the high stress situations, he tends to manage to keep his cool. This keeps things very interesting, and he feels very emotional intelligent. I also like how, because of this emotional intelligence, he can see people for who they really are, and even if they don't see it themselves. Creates some great stories and is why he is this high on the list. In our 3rd spot, we have the 9th Doctor. This is for most of the same reasons as the 8th Doctor about his calmness, but I love how quickly 9 can switch. Like in Dalek, when towards the end of the episode he loses himself and is a complete emotional wreck. He also has a charming amount of sarcasm, and I love how he has proper outbursts of anger. An example of this is in Father's Day, where he forgets himself in his anger like we all do and storms off to leave Rose. Then later in the story, once calmed down, he forgives her and then gets to work on saving the day. The Ninth Doctor for me is the most hopeful Doctor. He has hope even when there is none. I also enjoy his stark sense of clarity in situations, like when he accepts that Cassandra needs to die. That's his decision and end of. He is also interesting as he can accept when he is wrong, like with Mickey in World War III, when he accepts he's good at what he does and even offers him to travel alongside. As more Ninth Doctor Big Finish release, he continues to be a challenge for the second and even first place. If he got his own solo series on Disney Plus or something like that, then I think he would definitely swoop past at least second place. And talking of second place, we have the man, the myth, the legend, that is David Tennant. Now, he has acted as many versions of the Doctor now, and if you want all of the incarnations, then check out my History of the Doctor video in the timeline order, which will be at the top of the screen now. The 10th Doctor is the most human, he is the most emotional and therefore the easiest to resonate with as a human audience member. He is sad, he is happy, angry, and many times full of regret. His ability to do all of these things and perform them brilliantly as an actor is why he is so high on the list. Number 2 and number 1 spots are often interchangeable depending what I happen to be watching at the time, and after seeing Tennant play 14, it may even push 10 to the forever number 1 spot. As said, his performance is great. No Doctor like the 10th can pull off sheer fear of the situation he is in. In Midnight you can tell he is truly fearing for his life, and at the end of the episode he has a level of fear and stress that is still with him. Whereas other Doctors probably would have jumped back into the TARDIS, he needed some time, like us real people, to just sit back and take some time out. I could rave about why the 10th Doctor is the best, and in fact I will and have in my podcast TARDIS Talk linked below. We have had several famous guests and we'll have several more, so to make sure that you get that, subscribe and stay for it. Also join the Discord below to give us your own rankings, share theories for the future and previous stories, and get instant updates for news and leaks regarding the future of the entire Doctor Who enterprise. Number 1. The 12th Doctor, played by Peter Capaldi. The 12th Doctor for me is the best Doctor, for all of the great reasons about the other Doctors and more. I love his character changes, not just emotionally but also physically. His hair grows out, his outfit changes, and he learns to settle into his incarnation and just chill out. In the early stages of Series 8, he feels very awkward, even with how he stands and his posture. I get the impression that because he is older again, he feels more out of place, especially from Clara's initial reaction. But as he goes through time as the Doctor, he learns to accept himself. His anger as seen in Face the Raven is spine-chilling, and I think would even make the Master's blood run cold. His sadness and awkwardness and sarcastic humour all come together with a phenomenal performance to create, for me, the best version of the Doctor. If you've enjoyed today's video, then make sure to leave a like, as I have plans to rank the TARDIS, the Master, and even companions and screwdrivers. Thanks for watching, Happy New Year everyone, and let's just enjoy this 60th anniversary ride ahead that is in store for 2023.